Congratulations, Keir Starmer. You played yourself. Nigel Farage has destroyed Keir Starmer live on TV. No, I'm not joking. He did. Let's see.
When Donald Trump pointed right at the camera and mentioned Keir Starmer's name, everything shifted. It caught everyone off guard. The American press, British viewers, and definitely the Labour Party. This wasn't just a casual jab, it was a full-blown political assault aired live to millions. In just a few minutes, Trump unleashed one of the harshest public criticisms of a foreign leader in a long time. Starmer, who had worked hard to build a reputation for international respect and steady leadership, was brutally dismantled on the global stage. The speech took off online. It wasn't just standard news, it was like a bomb dropped right in the middle of the UK election. Now, people in Britain are left wondering, what does this mean for Keir Starmer's future, for Labour, and for the delicate ties between the UK and the US? It was meant to be just another press briefing in Florida. Trump stood at the podium, taking questions from a packed room of journalists. The usual subjects came up: immigration, the economy, China, NATO. But then one reporter asked a question that changed the game. Mr. President, what's your take on Keir Starmer, the man who could be Britain's next prime minister? Trump didn't miss a beat. His demeanor shifted instantly. He leaned forward, narrowed his eyes, and took a brief pause, almost like he was picking his words with care. What came next left everyone in shock. Keir Starmer, Trump said, his tone laden with contempt. Keir Starmer is the weakest man I've ever seen trying to run a country.
Really? You heard that, folks. He's weak. So that's why. No wonder why he tried to, persuade the people, and immediately all people just go against him. Wow, that's the reason why there's protests. Wow, Keir Starmer, seems you are unable to handle the country.
Fell silent. You could practically feel the reporter's shock. Cameras zoomed in, and then Trump launched into a rant that reverberated across the Atlantic. In under a minute, Trump went after Starmer, accusing him of being too lenient on crime, soft on border issues, and essentially a puppet for Brussels. He claimed that Starmer was secretly trying to roll back Brexit, selling out British sovereignty, and getting the UK back under the EU's thumb.
Actually, no. Don't think they're gonna get back on the EU's thumb. I think they're trying to revive their British Empire and also possibly setting the US and UK relation to the American Revolution, which, remember, these are just theories, okay? If there is an empire left, I don't think there's an empire left for the Brits.
Pointing again, wants to make Britain a satellite of Europe again. He wants to pander to Brussels, bow to Biden, and give away your country piece by piece. Those words hit hard. No filter, no decorum, and definitely no warning. It wasn't just the American press tuning in. British networks picked up the feed instantly. In no time, the clip was spreading online like wildfire. By the time Starmer's team in London caught wind of it, the footage had already gone viral. Millions had seen it, hashtags were trending, and political commentators were buzzing. Meanwhile, the Labour leader, completely blindsided, found himself silent. There was no quick response, no press release, no counterattack, just crickets. And in politics, that kind of silence can be lethal. Trump's speech wasn't some random outburst, it was carefully crafted and hit hard. He painted Starmer not as a rising leader but as a threat to Britain's independence, someone untrustworthy when it comes to foreign influence, and ultimately, someone who would jeopardize the special UK-US relationship. The repercussions were felt instantly. In Westminster, senior Labour MPs were thrown into chaos. Phones rang off the hook, staff rushed to gauge the damage, and at Labour HQ one question loomed: how do you counter a global powerhouse like Donald Trump? But while Labour was scrambling, Reform UK and the Conservatives were ready to capitalise on the situation. Nigel Farage praised Trump's remarks, calling them a much-needed truth bomb for the British public. Right-wing commentators hailed Trump as the only world leader brave enough to speak frankly about Starmer.
Also, I'm gonna make another video for this in my 4th channel. It'll be linked in the description, okay? And it will cover on how, let's just say, he's been humiliated. See, here's the thing, Keir Starmer. Do you even think before you go after some people in this censorship thing? I'm gonna say the same thing with Collective Shout, okay? Similar thing. What's gonna happen if you suddenly censor someone who has ties to the President of the United States, or the CCP, Russian government, or even better yet, the Mexican cartel? How are you gonna respond to that? That's the question. Keir Starmer, you have to ask yourself that. How are you gonna respond to that?
Conservative backbenchers who played it safe in public were quietly thrilled. The British tabloids went wild with headlines blaring, "Trump blasts Starmer." Radio hosts were debating whether Starmer could bounce back, while social media was buzzing with angry voters accusing Labour of covering something up. Throughout all of this, Starmer stayed quiet. That silence only fueled the fire, making Trump's comments seem even more impactful and accurate. In politics, not responding can make it look like you're either unable to or worse, that you actually agree. Trump's attack hit Labour at the worst possible moment. With the election just around the corner, every word counts, and every image is scrutinized. In a brutal instant, Starmer was portrayed as weak on the global stage not by a British rival but by the US president. This was way beyond just a PR mess, it was a global embarrassment.
Amazing. I'm 100% certain Malaysia and every Asian country will be embarrassed as well to Keir Starmer. Hell, I'm 100% certain the king is embarrassed. I think King Charles should just sack him. You know, I thought for certain this kind of thing doesn't have a happy ending, but frankly there is. Looks like Trump's comment came at the worst time for Keir Starmer because their general election is around the corner. To all viewers who are from UK and to the people of UK, if you have a chance to vote Keir Starmer out of office, vote. Make sure you research first, okay?
Sharp remarks on Starmer started racking up millions of views. The political climate in Britain darkened by the hour. What began as a simple question during a press conference had turned into a massive international controversy. Analysts described it as a diplomatic wrecking ball, but for the Labour Party, it meant something much worse. It was a shift in the narrative. Once a narrative gains traction during an election, reversing it is nearly impossible. Within a day, Starmer was no longer seen as the reliable alternative to a chaotic Conservative government. Instead, he was being painted as the guy who got humiliated live on television by the President of the United States. Labour strategists scrambled to manage the fallout, but the challenge was bigger than just the attack itself. It was the truths that Trump threw into his tirade, or at least what many voters perceived as truths. Trump's words were intentionally harsh. He knew how to twist perceptions, branding Starmer as someone without backbone, a guy who'd rather cozy up to foreign powers than stand firm for Britain. In a nation still divided over Brexit and wary from years of broken promises, that portrayal hit hard. Trump didn't need to lay out specific details, he just crafted a vivid image. According to Trump, Starmer represented the return of bland bureaucratic politics beholden to global elites. A leader who wouldn't challenge China, who'd crawl back to the EU and who, if elected, would drag the UK into America's social conflicts while undermining its own national identity.
Nice job, Keir Starmer. You're a fucking coward. You're all back because you're too pussy. Here, let me give you an additional thing. How come my country doesn't have any problem when it comes to illegal immigration? Just recently, I think it's already passed recently, one of my states, Selangor, detained 3,000 illegal immigrants, of which 1,000 plus of them were deported. Keir Starmer UK is letting in 500 plus illegal immigrants, and none of them is getting punished. Who is getting punished? The UK people. For what? Anti-immigration posts? Hopefully the new Prime Minister, whoever he is, whether it's Nigel Farage or anybody, hopefully they can stop, or in this case, abolish the UK Online Safety Act. Dismantle the elite police force who just arrest people for no reason.
Whether this was fact or fiction didn't matter. What counted was the reaction, and it was electric. Conservative commentators seized the moment. GB News, Talk TV, and right-leaning podcasts devoted entire segments to breaking down Trump's comments. They played the clip over and over, slowed it down, analyzed every word, gesture, and phrase. Weakest man to ever run a country quickly became a meme mocked, repeated, and even printed on merchandise in no time. Even mainstream outlets had to cover the controversy. BBC, ITV, and Sky News all reported on it, and with each segment, Trump's voice reached another million British listeners. He wasn't just affecting the American right anymore, he was actively shaping the UK election, and Starmer's silence only got louder by the hour. When Starmer finally addressed the issue nearly 2 days later, it was just a brief, flat statement during a campaign event in the Midlands. "I don't engage in foreign mudslinging," he said, adding, "My focus is on the British people, not American politics." But by then, it was too late. The moment had slipped away, and his silence had already said so much.
You know what they say? It's too little, too late. Really, Keir Starmer, you think that your only concern is the British people? Did you know that what you're doing, aka the Online Safety Act and arresting people for just saying, "I love bacon"? What, you think it's not going to affect people outside of the UK? Yeah, I guess again, it did.
Said so much. That short response did little to counter Trump's portrayal. In fact, it almost seemed to validate it. People wanted strength, they wanted fire. They were looking for a response that would debunk Trump's claims. Instead, they got a lukewarm line about avoiding mudslinging. Behind closed doors, Labour insiders were fuming. Reportedly, one senior advisor yelled during a private meeting, "This is a disaster. We needed a fight, and we gave them fog." Even some Labour MPs started to pull away. Whispers began circulating in Westminster. If Starmer couldn't handle Trump's jabs, how would he manage global crises? Would he be able to stand up to figures like Putin, Xi Jinping, or even Macron and the EU when tough negotiations arose? Meanwhile, Trump was just doubling down. In a follow-up interview with a conservative American radio host, he was asked if he regretted his remarks about Starr. His response was chillingly straightforward. "Not at all. The UK deserves better. You can't have weak leaders running powerful nations, that's how the West falls." He added almost casually, "I've talked to a lot of Brits. They agree with me."
Look, the moment you have weak people to run a nation, that is not going to happen. People will go and open revolt. I mean, do you remember the Qing dynasty? How do you think that dynasty ended up? There was a revolution because many of the officials of the Qing dynasty were corrupt. I mean, it happened from the early stages. What? From the earliest, I think the early century, or maybe before that. What else we can? Oh yeah, the French Revolution. How do you think that ended up? That's what happens when you have either weak people or even corrupt people running an office or even running a country. Then the people will go in open revolt. Nothing much you can do because you can't stop it. Doesn't matter what you do.
Truly had those conversations wasn't the point. What mattered was how it came across. Trump positioned himself not just as a critic of Starr, but as someone in tune with British voters. The optics were damaging. On social media, British citizens began questioning whether Trump had revealed something Labour had been hiding. Was Starmer really fit for leadership? Was he too polite, too diplomatic, or too bland in such a harsh world? Doubts began to sprout, and no amount of spin from Labour HQ could stop their growth. While Labour was busy extinguishing fires, Reform UK seized the moment and acted swiftly. The next evening, Nigel Farage appeared on camera looking almost gleeful. Donald Trump just said what millions of Brits have been thinking, he declared. Keir Starmer is not fit to lead. He's weak, he isn't patriotic, and he won't stand up for this country. The clip spread like wildfire. Within hours, Farage's remarks were trending alongside Trump's original video. Two voices, one American, one British, created a chorus of criticism, and Starr, caught up in his politeness and strategy, had no real comeback. By week's end, polls began to shift, not in a huge way but noticeably. Labour's 5-point lead dipped to 3. Starr's personal favorability plummeted by 6 points in a single YouGov poll.
Keir Starmer, congratulations, you played yourself. Now you're gonna have to face the wrath of the people. Again, to all the British people and to my viewers from the UK, congratulations, you did the impossible. Again, like I said, I know it is tough for you to not protest, or in this case, to protest without fear of getting either losing your job or arrested. You stood up against tyranny, and this is a first step in the right direction.
Groups across the Midlands and Northern England, key battlegrounds for Labour, unpromptedly mentioned the Trump clip. That was the true danger, as it indicated that the message had truly resonated. Not as just noise or a moment, but as a symbol. Trump had achieved what no British politician had managed to do in this election. He'd shattered Starmer's image of invincibility. And he did it all from another continent with just a few sentences. Inside Labour headquarters, panic was brewing. Not publicly or in headlines, but deeply within the campaign war room, where the true extent of the damage was being assessed. Behind closed doors, Starmer's closest aides were no longer focused on policy announcements or canvassing strategies. They were poring over poll numbers, strategizing damage control, and analyzing voter sentiment that slipped through their fingers like sand. The Trump attack not only derailed their message but also cracked the carefully constructed image they had spent years building. Starmer was supposed to project an image of a calm, capable leader, one who stands firm under pressure. Yet now many see him as shaken, passive, and worst of all, silent. Inside the room, his advisors were in a heated debate about how to respond. Some wanted a bold rebuttal, while others cautioned against diving into a Trump-like fray, but their indecision only added to the confusion.
This is what happens when you go against someone like Donald Trump. You stay silent, you can't do anything about it. The Labour Party and many of the ones within Keir Starmer's aid, or in this case, political bureaus, they can't say anything. They're silent. This is what we call F around and find out.
Every hour that passed without a clear response from Starmer, Trump's narrative gained traction. There was no decisive plan, no strong counter-message, just bland press releases and carefully worded statements that amounted to little. It seemed like Starmer was paralyzed, afraid to make things worse. What neither he nor his team seemed to realize was that this issue had grown beyond just Trump. It had become about how leadership is perceived, how strength is seen. Even centrist voters began to voice their concerns about Starmer's lack of assertiveness, surfacing in radio call-ins and social media comments. Longtime Labour supporters expressed their frustration, with one woman asking on LBC, "Where is Kay? We've got a foreign leader humiliating our potential prime minister, and all we get is a shrug."
You know for a fact that you have lost. So again, the next one, I'm gonna follow it up in my 4th channel. But I'm gonna give you a summary before that. Let's just say Nigel Farage has humiliated Starmer in front of millions, and most importantly, the speaker, this is just in, okay? It is probably breaking news by the time of this upload. Nigel Farage is announced to be the next UK Prime Minister. And I'll add that video, link in the description, so you guys can watch it full, okay? Again, like I said, to all the UK, to all my viewers who are from the UK, and to the people of UK, you did a good job. You are protesting and changes are coming in the right direction. Yeah, even though most of my country will not cover this, I'm 100% certain, but I will cover this. It's good to see you guys stood up. It is hard, I know, but you did it. Mission accomplished.
I was getting a little nervous there. Thanks for not letting me down.
You watched my back. I wouldn't be worth spit if I didn't watch yours.
Fair enough. Let's head back to base. Word is we're starting the full-scale evacuation tomorrow. And that means we're gonna be busy.
Leave a like and subscribe if you want gaming news, gaming theories, or you just want to see me play games. Visit my 1st, 3rd, and 4th channel up here or link in the description.